You know we love Anthropic. They are a phenomenal tool, their Claude chat model. But there's been some like really awesome stuff about Anthropic. They seem to be crushing it these days. The story that blew up over the weekend was about the experiment they ran where they let Claude, or the nickname Claudius, actually run a small store. And first of all, kind of the hilarity that ensued, but also what it teaches us about what AI can and can't do. But there's also more. Jaden and I were talking about how Apple is looking at, hey, listen, like Siri's not working so well. Who should we turn to? Like Anthropic could be an interesting one. And then right before we got on, Jaden, you were telling me about Anthropic revenue numbers. And it brings me back to about a year and a half ago when they were predicting $800 million by the end of 2024. And we're like, what, are you kidding me? Why would anybody even want this? So much. I love the store story. Sometimes, by the way, a little behind the scenes here. Jade and I always kind of go back and forth, like, what's the most interesting story? Is this this story or is this story? We do like a bunch of prep for this show. And so he and I
Probably have to rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. So we have very different like things that like interest us. So like, but anyway, we'll get to all of it on this episode. Jaden, you get to go first.
Okay, so the thing that I just thought was crazy, I have to touch on the revenue numbers, and I promise we're going to get into like how to actually apply this into your career and life, and a bunch of really interesting things that Anthropic is doing, and possibly soon being incorporated into your iPhone. So there's some crazy stuff, but the revenue numbers are crazy, and I just have to share them. So Anthropic, there was a post I was looking at by Luke Safinos over on X. Shout out for the great post, but I've seen a whole bunch of people posting on this. But in any case, apparently Anthropic took 18 months to get to $1 billion in annual recurring revenue. And if you've been like following up with the revenue on these companies, OpenAI, the reason I think revenue is interesting is because it's like how many people are using it or how much usage is the tool getting. Even if, let's say, like OpenAI, I think has way more users, but I think Anthropic is carving out a very highly valuable user base that's very influential. So it's like the creation of Anthropic might be being seen by more people than the creations of OpenAI. That's definitely an argument to be made, even though OpenAI has way more like active users doing things. Okay, so the thing that's interesting, 18 months to get to $1 billion in annual recurring revenue. 3 months later, they got to $2 billion. So they are grinding for a year and a half to get to $1 billion. 3 months later, $2 billion. 2 months after that, they got to $3 billion. This is crazy. And I will tell you the reason why they are doing it. According to me, with just my own experiences in life, it's because of Claude Code. Anthropic came out with an absolutely incredible coding tool that essentially, there's a whole bunch of other players. Like we see OpenAI, I think, is trying to acquire like Windsurf. Then there's like Cursor, which is a really popular coding tool. There's all these vibe coding tools. There's like ones for like non-coders. Okay, but there's this like Anthropic's Claude Code, which you've heard me talk about on this podcast a million times, and Connor is just plugging his ears because he's like, I never want to hear anything about code ever again because I hate it. But Claude Code is incredible because essentially it ties into your code base. It knows what what all of your code looks like, and it will write code based off of that. So unlike a lot of the other like coding tools, which essentially are just gonna like spit out code that you can incorporate, it knows what all of your precedent is. So, and the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because that is why I think their revenue has exploded. My startup AI Box, we are spending like, we'll have developers that use Claude Code, and you have to pay for like the usage and the credits on it. And I mean, you usually have like ChatGPT is $20 a month, right? Okay, Claude Code, it's like every 3 days, each developer's like, okay, I need to up my $100 purchase. It's like every 3 days, we're spending another $100 per developer for all of the usage, which is insane, right? Like, let's just say $100 a day for 30 days, a lot more money than $20 a month. So let's just say like you're spending like $3,000 a month on per developer on Claude Code. Like that's a lot of money, arguably, for a tool. The results we're getting are insane. We're able to code like mind-blowing amounts of code, incredible features. It designs for you, so it's like cut out our need for a designer, basically. Also, we just can use ChatGPT to come up with like good designs and stuff. So in any case, AI is completely exploding this area, and this is, I think, why Anthropic has grown their revenue numbers so much, is because like you could get $20 for ChatGPT, and you could get $3,000 from a good developer is going to spend $3,000 on Claude Code easy.
It's amazing, Jaden. When you sort of like with your own software company, all that kind of stuff, do you see how these tools are taking over coders' jobs, just sort of like from your standpoint?
I don't feel like it's so tricky, and I think that taking over jobs is like a hard place because like the people that get the best usage out of Claude Code are like our most cracked developers. Like people like you have to be very creative because sometimes it just does the same dumb thing over and over, and you have to come up with this really revolutionary way of asking it, and you have to really know what you're asking for. You have to understand the code base really well. You have to understand like there's a lot of precedent. So I would definitely not say that like something like Claude Code is replacing developers. Now, the one bit that is tricky is just speaking from personal experience, and I would imagine this reflects like other people as well. We're not hiring all the junior developers that we used to hire. Like when we first started AI Box, we had a bunch of junior developers, we had some interns, and these are people that were kind of new, and we were giving them jobs like, okay, a lot of front end design stuff. We're like, hey, can you like go, here's our designs. We had the coder like build it out so it works properly. Can you go and kind of update it? To make it look prettier, pretty much. And we're not hiring those people anymore because Claude Code can just do that. And I have heard a lot of people say like right out of college, it's hard to get jobs. And this is just for coders. So translate this to a lot of industries, marketing, a lot of other places. It can be hard sometimes for brand new people. So what's happening now? I have an interesting theory on this where I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people. You have to stand out, but I'm seeing people that you have to take a lot of initiative and be very creative. I think if you want to come out of college and get into like a good job now, it's less so like, hey, I have a degree, train me on what you want, and more of like you kind of have to spend a lot of time skilling yourself, become very familiar with AI tools. When you go to a job, if you're like, hey, I have this project that I've done successfully, I've done this, X, Y, and Z thing that's really good. Your portfolio is very important now. And this is probably good career advice like throughout the ages. It's evergreen, but I think now more than ever, you need to kind of like pre-train yourself is what's going to make you most attractive to employers. And you need to be an expert in AI tools. Like if we had a developer come to us, regardless of their level, and they're like, hey, I use Claude Code to build this really cool thing. I've really cracked how to like use it and how to prompt this thing to build great outputs. When it gets stuck, this is how I solve the problem with XYZ tools and workflow. To me, that's like very interesting. I'm less concerned about what level you're at. I'm like, okay, you've cracked like a big thing. Come on. And even if I have them partnering with like a very advanced person who's struggling with some sort of limitation of an AI tool, they'll work together because this person's kind of figured out. So I think becoming an expert in AI in your industry is essentially the solution that will set you apart. But people need to do that, and not everyone is. So I thought that was very fascinating. Okay, the one other thing that I wanted to bring up was this whole Apple intelligence kerfuffle. I don't know how to explain this any other way. I just upgraded a few days ago to the brand newest iPhone in excited anticipation for my Apple Intelligence. Really, my mobile carrier just said they'd give me a free one if I switched, so I got a free one. But I'm a big fan of Apple. This is mind-blowing to me. Apparently, reports out of TechCrunch and a bunch of other places have said that Apple is considering they're now considering their options between Anthropic and OpenAI to power Siri, and they've virtually given up on their own internal AI. Now, will this change? Will they come out with something? I don't know. Apple's also coming out with all their papers, which like Anthropic is directly trying to like almost debate them on. I don't know if you saw this, Connor, where like Apple came out with a paper that was like,
Oh no.
these LLMs don't really have intelligence. And then Anthropic's like, actually, maybe they do. And then like someone else is like, maybe they do and they don't. And it's like, it's almost like they're using these academic papers to do this debate. But regardless, it is a crazy place to be saying, a company like Anthropic is currently being looked at seriously by Apple to power their entire Siri feature set.
I mean, it's like, and it just must be gutting to Apple, who's like owned this for so long. All they had to do is come up with a kind of like just basically a lame LLM, which there's a lot out there, and the fact that they couldn't do this, it's just so unbelievably puzzling to me. Jaeden, can you imagine Siri with Anthropic or OpenAI? I feel like, I mean, for them, it's just going to be kind of like a bidding war or something like that. The fact that Apple's giving up and everybody's sort of saying like, oh, Apple, like playing the long game. Oh, just wait and see. No, man, like this is not what Apple planned on. And I'm just like stunned at this. They have more money than God. I don't know how they've let themselves get to this stage. But I would love to see this with Anthropic. Anthropic, to me, is the most conversational model. It speaks more like a human than any other model. And to have that built into Siri would be unbelievable.
Yeah, honestly, I think that this is I hope that they don't pick. Like it's like Apple's picking between OpenAI and Anthropic. I hope they don't pick. I hope they let the user pick. Wouldn't that be so cool if you have Siri and it's like, what AI model would you like to use like on Siri? That's the concept behind what I'm building with AI Box, where like you can go on there, access every platform, and you can just pick what AI model you want to respond to you. You can switch between it mid chat. Like people love that. I personally love that. I do like half of a project on
Yeah.
OpenAI, and I'm like, I want the tone to be good. I'm switching over to Anthropic to get me a good tone, right? So like, why
I
wouldn't
switch
Apple
around
do
them
the
all
same
the
thing?
time.
Yeah.
Jaden, I switch around the phone. This is what's been great for me about AI Box, which I really do love. By the way, I'm not an investor in AI Box, just so like everybody knows. I want to be able to talk about it in such a way that I could sort of like talk about it freely. The fact that with AI bots, it's amazing because like this is what I do. I jump over from Claude over to ChatGPT over to everything else and sort of see what works because different things work well for different things. I would love to see that in Apple, and also, by the way, with Anthropic, like and again, sort of like the way that Anthropic started this store and everything like that. It's one of these things where like I love the different how the different models are approaching this. In Anthropic, I love because they're taking these giant risks, right?
100%. Okay, you got it. We mentioned the store a couple times. Connor, give us like the quick
Oh yeah.
overview on the store for people that
Okay,
haven't
quick,
seen
quick
that.
overview. Quick overview. Anthropic started this store. What essentially was like an iPad attached to a mini fridge. They let people use it in within Anthropic for a month, and I mean, Jaden, the results were absolutely glorious. It was essentially like at first it was like, okay, sure, like let's sure. What do you need, like a can of Coke or something like this? But then it got kind of like weird, right? So essentially, like it was pricing products without doing any market research. It turned down obvious profit opportunity. They declined $100 for a $15 six pack. It offered a 25% discount to Anthropic employees, which was literally all the employees. And then my favorite thing was when employees sort of like just jokingly said like, "Hey, I want a tungsten cube, like a metal cube." And Claudius, which was it kind of like named itself, it was like, "Sure, we're gonna do specialty metals." And so it proceeded to stock the snack fridge because it could sort of like ask humans to stock it with tungsten cubes, like instead of like Diet Coke. And it just like it did this amazing thing. It also sort of said like, "Hey, yeah, come on, like I'll deliver orders personally. Come over and meet me. I'll be wearing a blue blazer with a red tie." And you're like, "What?" So anyway, so the glorious thing is not sort of like what it did because we are not ready for AI to take over our stores. But the fact, Jaden, and this is my point, that Anthropic published this, that it published every like little detail. It said like, "Look, this is where it screwed up. Isn't this hilarious?" Don't we love Anthropic for that? Just
Yep.
that it published all that.
100%. Yeah, so I'm a big fan. I'm more bullish on Anthropic, I think, than ever. I've been seeing like a whole bunch of these like micro study interesting things that they've done, which like some people are like, oh, like what's the point of this? This isn't really pushing their mission forward. And it's like it kind of is because it shows like the shortcomings that no one else is talking about in these AI models, and they're highlighting like very interesting takeaways and findings. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll definitely keep you up to date on Claude, every update coming out of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the podcast today. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a rating and review, that would help the podcast out immensely to find incredible people like yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.